Welcome to a new program year here at the Tuckahoe Senior Center. Each month we have exercise programs, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays, the days that we're open. We have added some Tai Chi classes. We have health-related classes. We have musical programs. There's a lot going on here. And if you're interested in what we do, drop by on a Tuesday or a Thursday. They're very, very nice people here, and there's a lot going on. Now today we're fortunate to have Jen Scully from Lawrence Hospital, who is a registered dietitian, and she is the nutritional, tell me this again. There, I got it. She's a clinical nutrition manager, and she's going to talk with us today about foods for joint health. And I think we all creak and groan a little bit, so welcome.
Thank you, Barbara, and thank you to everyone for having me back here. How is the volume? Is that good? Can you hear me? Okay. So, as Barbara just said, we are going to talk today about joint health and how foods and nutrition can help our joints to feel better, prevent further problems with our joints. And when I say joints, I mean our knees and our ankles and our elbows. Who has problems with any of those? Knees? Good. So it's good that I'm here talking about it. At least this will be something that can help you. I'm glad I could do that. So when we think about foods that help our joints, a lot of it has to do with inflammation. There's certain foods that have properties that can affect the inflammation, and that's what's going to cause more pain in your joints. And after the presentation, if you want to come up, I do have some handouts for you on osteoarthritis, bone health with osteoporosis, and the presentation that I'm going to give today. I have all of the information in the handout up here. So if there's something that you want to refer back to, or next time you go shopping, you want to bring the list of foods with you that can help with your joint health, there's a list in this packet up here. In addition, there's a handout for our outpatient nutrition program at Lawrence Hospital, which we started 6 months ago. Before that, we were just seeing the patients in the hospital. Since we started this outpatient nutrition program, we meet with members of the community, possibly somebody that was a patient in the hospital that was discharged, and the registered dietitian will counsel that client on whatever the nutrition problem could be. We see patients for diabetes control, help with controlling high blood pressure, high cholesterol, problems that we're going to talk about today like joint health and osteoporosis, or really any health problem that's related to nutrition. We can help you with our outpatient nutrition program. The yellow pamphlet up here has our phone number on it. So if you're interested in contacting the registered dietitian and possibly setting up an appointment, you can find our phone number on that yellow flyer. Okay?
Is there a cost involved?
Is there cost involved was the question. A lot of times insurance will cover based on the reason that you're coming to visit us. What we do is we get a referral from your physician, which is going to increase the chances that the insurance is going to cover your visit. Medicare and Medicaid cover for different diagnoses, so we can talk about that with you individually when you call the program and see exactly the reason that you want to come see us. Okay, so let's talk about joint health and what foods we can eat to help decrease the inflammation and therefore the pain in our joints. The first one I'm going to talk about is vitamin C. What kind of foods do we find vitamin C in?
Oranges.
Orange, tomatoes, carrots. Good. So we have the top ones. We hear orange juice right away, oranges, all of the citrus fruits, the lemons, the limes. We also heard mango by this young lady in the front here, and I believe somebody said potato. Did I hear potato?
Yeah.
Sweet potato, exactly. Sweet potato, not the white potatoes. So other foods on that list include broccoli, cantaloupe, a lot of the dark green leafy vegetables like spinach and collard greens. Those are very high in vitamin C. We said sweet potatoes, and another green leafy vegetable, the mustard greens. So that list are going to be your foods that are highest in vitamin C. And what vitamin C does is it's an antioxidant. So what that does is it helps to bring down the inflammation in your body. And when the inflammation comes down, there's less pressure on your joints, which is going to decrease the joint pain that you have. Vitamin C also helps support healthy connective tissue, which is the connective tissue is around your joints, like your knees and your elbows and your shoulders. So foods that have vitamin C can therefore help to decrease the pain from the inflammation that you're having. Another food property is calcium and magnesium and how they work together. Calcium, we know, can contribute to positive bone growth, and what that does is it helps to maintain bone density. The calcium works as a partner with the magnesium to promote the efficient formation of bone tissue. And if you have bone tissue and it's supported, you have the bone density also, that's going to maintain the health of your joints. We're going to talk in a little while about exercise, and I hear about all the great exercise programs that you have going on here. That's also going to help with your bone density and help with your joint health as well. So where do we find calcium? What foods have calcium in them?
Milk.
Dairy products. Right. Good. So I heard the major ones, which are dairy products like milk and yogurt and cheese. What else? Do you know any other sources of calcium besides dairy?
Eggs have protein. That's protein.
So some people can't have dairy, either because they're lactose intolerant, they may not be able to tolerate the sugars that are in milk, but you still need to get calcium. It's important for that bone formation. So there's a couple of other sources of calcium besides dairy products.
Oscal.
Supplements are one. I heard of Oscal. We try to get our calcium and our vitamins through food because our body can absorb it better than through vitamins. So the dark green leafy vegetables that we talked about before that have vitamin C, the spinach, the mustard green, the collard greens, they also have calcium in addition. And what about soy milk? Has anybody ever had soy milk? A couple of yeses. Soy milk is usually fortified with calcium. It doesn't have calcium naturally like cow's milk, but it is fortified with calcium. So if you can't drink regular milk, soy milk, or even lactated milk, those products have calcium as well. Okay, and then we said the calcium and the magnesium need to work together in a partnership to help your bone formation. Does anybody know, this is a tricky one because we don't usually talk about magnesium. Where do we find magnesium? Do you know any food sources? How about foods? The biggest ones are seeds, nuts, legumes, and beans.
Oh, yeah.
Those are full of magnesium. Those are your top sources of magnesium. The dark green leafy vegetables, they're on the list again. Those must be healthy because they keep showing up over and over. So our spinach, mustard greens, collard greens, they're full of magnesium as well. And unrefined cereal grains. So when I say unrefined, I'm not talking about Rice Krispies or Special K, which doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it because they strip it of the fiber and they take out the nutrients. But I'm talking about unrefined oatmeal, the long cooking oatmeal, or a cereal like Total or Bran Flakes or Raisin Bran. That's going to be another good source of magnesium for you. And when you have that magnesium with the calcium, that's going to work to help maintain your bone density and your bone formation. Okay? Let's move on to fats and oils. We hear a lot in the news, in the media, in newspapers about fats and oils. What's a good fat? What's a bad fat? What should I not have in my diet? The right type of fat in your diet is going to help reduce inflammation, especially your omega fatty acids. Have you heard of omega-3s or omega-6s? Fish, good. Yep, fish is probably the top source of those omega fatty acids. That's very true. They're also found in walnuts, flaxseed, pumpkin seeds, and canola oil, in addition to olive oil. So if you are picking out an oil to do your cooking with, olive oil and canola oil are going to be your best bet. Those are going to have the omega-3s, which are going to help decrease the inflammation and keep your joints healthy. But when we talk about fats, we also have to consider that fats have twice as many calories as the carbohydrates and the protein foods per gram. They're very calorically dense, which means that if we have too much of them and we don't use those extra calories, what happens? We put on weight and we gain weight. And that works against what you're trying to do, because if you are carrying extra weight, it puts extra pressure on your joints, like your knees and your ankles, so you're working against what you're trying to do, your back too also. So if we have a little bit of oil, like a tablespoon in our cooking, and we use canola or olive, we're going to get those heart healthy and joint healthy omega-3 fatty acids. But when we have too much, that becomes the problem. Okay? Supplements. This young lady brought up supplements a couple of times. If you're someone who can eat fish or you don't eat fish, you can also get your omega fatty acids from a supplement. Like they have the fish oil capsules that you can find in most grocery stores or health food stores. If you are on any medication that thins your blood, something like Coumadin, be careful. Talk to your doctor or a registered dietitian before you start taking omega supplements, because the omega-3 and the omega-6 supplements can also thin your blood. So if you're on a blood thinning medication, you don't want to add a supplement which also thins your blood. It's just a word of caution, okay? Okay. So we talked about healthy oils, the canola oil, the olive oil. We said we can also get those healthy omega fatty acids from walnuts, flax seeds, and pumpkin seeds. Those are a couple of other ways. Somebody brought up eggs before and said it was a source of protein. So let's talk about protein. Where else can we get protein besides in eggs?
Bread.
Meat. Okay, what else? Seafood, yeah. What else? Lentils, cheeses. Good. So we have two ways to get protein. There's animal sources of protein and non-animal or vegetable sources of protein. So the animal sources that I heard, meat, eggs, fish. There's also chicken and turkey, all the poultry. Cheese would be another source of protein. Then you have your non-animal sources of protein. I heard beans and legumes, soy products. Those are all non-animal or vegetarian sources of protein. And what the protein's going to do is that it builds healthy body tissue. And if you have healthy body tissue, that's going to support your joints and keep them healthy and help keep the pain down. The only word of caution I want to give about proteins is that red meat or beef can increase the inflammation in your body. So when we talk about proteins, we want to talk about lean, healthier sources of protein. like fish or poultry without the skin on it. And we also want to go back to our last conversation about fats, where we're talking about the amount of fat that we have that correlates to the cooking method that we cook our proteins. If something's baked or broiled or grilled or steamed, those are all great lower fat, healthier cooking sources. If we cook with a lot of fat and fry something or saute it, then we're negating the fact that we're having a healthy lean protein by cooking with too much oil. So just keep in mind that the red meat, if you have a lot of inflammation in your body and you have joint pain, you want to keep your red meat intake to 1 time per week or less. Okay? And that goes for all meat, hamburgers, chopped steak, any kind of red meat. Even if there's beef in a lasagna or meat ravioli, once a week is the recommendation if you're having inflammation and joint pain. We did talk about some non-animal sources of protein, the soybeans. A couple of people said they tried soy milk. What about other soy products? Has anybody tried tofu or a veggie burger? I'm getting the face that usually means it didn't taste too good. With those items, it has a lot to do with how you cook them. Something like tofu doesn't necessarily have a flavor. It usually soaks up the flavor of whatever you're cooking it with. So if you're doing like a stir fry with vegetables, the tofu can soak up the soy sauce or the teriyaki sauce or whatever type of seasoning, herbs, or sauces that you're using. But that soy we talked about at the beginning can help decrease the inflammation and help with joint pain. Okay, what we haven't talked about yet is carbohydrates and fiber. Fiber plays a role in decreasing the inflammation, and that's especially your whole grains. So we always talk in the nutrition media, in the newspaper, radio shows, television about whole grains.
Whole wheat bread.
Yep, whole wheat bread, that's a good example.
Pumpernickel, brown rice.
Brown rice is a good one.
Celery.
What about- Celery, well that's, yeah, it does have some fiber. Let's talk about some starches first. What else, where else besides bread, rice, can we get fiber?
Pasta.
Potatoes in the skin, yep, that's not a whole grain, but you do get the fiber in the skin, that's right. What else did I hear? Pasta, whole wheat pasta, good. What about at breakfast? What can we do at breakfast to get a carbohydrate that has more fiber in it?
Oatmeal.
Oatmeal, different types of cold cereal that have fiber. If you're into reading labels, which is a good thing, except for the fact that a lot of times they're very small and they're hard to read, when you're looking at cereal boxes, if you're in the supermarket, the cold cereal boxes that have at least 3 or 4 grams of fiber are going to be your best bet. Something like Rice Krispies, Special K, which I mentioned before, have 1 gram or less, which really isn't that much. Something like Total, Bran Flakes, shredded wheat, those are going to have more fiber, which the fiber helps in many different ways. Besides helping decrease the inflammation to help with your joint pain, it also helps to lower your cholesterol. It can also help with weight loss because the fiber swells like a sponge, so it keeps you fuller for longer than if you had a cereal with less fiber. Okay, so we're trying to get as much whole grain and fiber as we can. Some others, this young lady mentioned a vegetable before, like celery. There's other vegetables. Pretty much all fruits and vegetables are a good source of fiber, especially when we leave the skin on. I know sometimes biting through the skin of an apple can be tough to chew, but a lot of the fiber is located in the skin. So this young lady mentioned potatoes before. A lot of the fiber is in the skin, so if you're making a baked potato, you want to eat the skin. If you're making mashed potatoes, if you leave the skin on, you're getting a lot more fiber than if you peel it. Yeah, some people don't like it. Some people have a hard time chewing it. That's why juice, like fruit juice, has less fiber than the whole fruit. Because when they make the juice, a lot of the skin is gone and they take a lot of the fiber out. A lot of people ask me about juicing as well. When you put the vegetables and the fruit in the machine and it makes a juice out of it, if you're doing it at home, a lot of the pulp that's left sitting on top, that's where the fiber is. So when you drink the juice, you're not getting as much fiber. You will get all the healthy vitamins and minerals that are inside of the juice, but you're not getting the fiber, so you're missing that one part. So when we can, we try to have whole fruit that's healthier than having juice. Okay? Couple of very specific fruits and vegetables that are healthy for us, especially when we're talking about joint inflammation, reducing that inflammation. Berries like blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries are very high in an anti-inflammatory property, and they're going to help. Cranberries as well, yes. Cranberries are actually very well known to help with joint pain, especially knee pain, and I know there's some popular supplements out as well, but they do sell frozen cherries, and depending on the season, the fresh fruit is going to be more expensive. With frozen fruit, you can get it on sale, and it can save money as well because you can keep it in the freezer for a longer amount of time. The fresh can go bad pretty quickly if you don't eat it all. When they make frozen fruit and frozen vegetables as well, they pick it when it's ripe and then they flash freeze it. So it actually keeps in a lot of the nutrients. By the time a fresh piece of fruit or fresh vegetables get from the farm to a warehouse, to the grocery store, for you to pick it up, and then you may not cook it for 2 or 3 days, a lot of those vitamins are already gone. They're water soluble, so they disappear when they sit around for a long time. So frozen fruits and vegetables are actually a pretty good buy. You can get them on sale and buy a bunch at a time, and you may be getting more nutrients and vitamins than if you buy the fresh fruit or vegetable. Yeah?
When you're taking there's never like these you can't take, like cranberries.
Okay. The question was about Coumadin. And if you're taking a blood thinning medication, what foods that I'm talking about that you can't have. When you're on Coumadin, you don't want to cut these foods out completely. What you want to do is keep it consistent from day to day. The consistency is the key with Coumadin. So if you have broccoli once a week and spinach once a week, you want to try to keep that the same from week to week as much as you can. When you start changing it, that's when the Coumadin will change the way it's thinning your blood. Same goes with cranberries. There's only been 2 studies done with the cranberries, and both of the patients had very large amounts of cranberry juice, more than most people would drink on a normal basis. So you can still have cranberry juice if you're on Coumadin. You want to keep it consistent. So if you have a small glass every couple of days, you want to try to keep that consistent from week to week. Does that make sense? Okay. A lot of people hear Coumadin and green leafy vegetables and they just want to cut them all out completely. You don't have to. Another thing I hear a lot from my patients is that anything green has vitamin K. That's not true either. It's really your green leafy vegetables.
The dark green.
Yes, like spinach, collard greens, mustard greens, something like green beans. It's green, but it doesn't have vitamin K, so it's not going to affect the way the Coumadin thins your blood. The green leafy vegetables that we're talking about have a lot of vitamin K, and vitamin K is going to affect the way the Coumadin is thinning your blood. Okay?
Okay.
Sure. Let's move on to iron. What do we know about iron?
The lentils have iron.
Mm-hmm. What does iron do for us? Do we know that?
Keeps your blood out of your bones. Keeps you from having anemia.
Keeps you from having anemia. I heard something about keeping your blood healthy. So what iron does is it actually carries the oxygen throughout your body. If we are not getting enough iron-rich foods, it can make you feel very tired because your body's not getting oxygen to all the places that it should. Where I heard legumes, where else can we find iron in food sources?
Vegetables.
Certain vegetables.
Meats too, right?
Meats, yep. Those are the big ones. There's heme and non-heme iron. Heme is H-E-M-E. The heme iron comes from animal sources, and our body actually absorbs that better than the non-heme iron, which comes from vegetable sources. So some of the biggest ones we heard already, meats, fish, poultry, that type of iron our body's going to absorb much better than the iron we get from spinach or legumes, which is still a good source. Another major factor you want to consider if you're moderating or thinking about how much iron am I getting enough iron? When you have something like coffee or tea or a dairy product like milk, in combination with a food that has a lot of iron, it actually blocks the absorption of the iron in your body. So coffee, tea, and dairy you want to try not to have with foods that have a lot of iron, or else you're not going to absorb as much iron. But if you have something with vitamin C, like a little bit of orange juice or a couple of strawberries or some sweet potatoes, that's going to help your body absorb the iron better. Okay? So a lot of people take their iron supplement with a little bit of milk. You don't want to do that. That's going to block the absorption of iron. But if you take your iron supplement with a little bit of orange juice, that's going to help your body absorb it better. Okay? It's a little trick. Another way to get iron is cast iron cookware. Does anyone have iron skillets that they still use at home? That iron actually leaches into your food, so that's another good source to get iron if you're looking for waste. Yep. So overall, when we're talking about foods that help with inflammation and inflammatory processes, a lot of the foods that we talked about are fresh foods as opposed to processed foods. The processed foods are going to increase the inflammation in your body. The more fresh, natural foods that we can have, those are the foods that are really going to help to decrease the inflammation in your body and help with the joint pain. So let's talk about some specific examples. Somebody asked me for a sample menu when I came in today. Here are some ideas that I can give you that are in the packet that's at the end of the table. I gave an example for breakfast, a snack, and dinner. For breakfast, we're going to refer back to the examples that we talked about. It could be oatmeal with fresh berries and walnuts and some soy milk. That would be a great example of a healthy breakfast that's going to give you fiber. It has all of those anti-inflammatory impacts on your body. A snack, instead of cookies or candy, whole fruit or nuts or seeds or fresh vegetables, those are really going to help with the inflammation, to decrease the inflammation in your body. Okay? More fish and less red meat. We talked about how red meat has a big impact on the inflammation in our body. So if we have fish, poultry, lean poultry without the skin on it, that's going to help keep our joints healthy. Deep fried foods we want to try to stay away from, and we want to try the healthier cooking methods like baking, grilling, broiling, stir frying, and then plenty of water, fresh fruit, herbal teas are going to help to make sure your body gets enough fluid, which is also going to keep your joints healthy. Okay, I saw a couple of hands go up before.
How about potassium?
Okay, let me go to this young lady first, and then I'll come back to you.
Green tea. Green tea.
The health benefits of green tea. Green tea versus black tea, or green tea versus no tea? Like Lipton is black tea. Green tea has some more antioxidant properties, which is going to be healthy for preventing heart disease. Green tea is actually pretty healthy for you. Yes?
How many times a day can you have that?
It depends. It depends if you're on any medication that can interact with the green tea. If you're not on medications, which is something that your doctor can talk with you about, if you're not on any medications that can interact with green tea, then the amount that you have can be unlimited. A lot of times what we add to our beverages is what makes them less healthy, like coffee. Coffee, 1 or 2 cups a day, can actually help to lower your blood pressure, but if you're adding half and half and a lot of sugar, that's negating the health benefits that you're going to get. The same with green tea or even black tea. To get the health benefits, you want to try to drink it straight with nothing in it.
Are those flavored teas? You know, you buy a package with all the different flavors. Are those considered hot green tea, whatever?
It depends on which ones you buy. Some, the
Sometimes
mixed
you buy a
flavors.
mixed package.
Right.
And they have different flavors.
Usually it's a mix of black teas
And the other.
and sometimes some green tea, and then there's sometimes a Earl Grey in there. There's
Yes,
different
yes,
types
yes.
of teas. But all teas have health properties to them that are good for your heart and good for your body.
And I wanted potassium.
Oh, okay. How to get more potassium?
Well, I know bananas are
Can you
good.
repeat the
Potatoes.
Oh,
question?
yes.
They can't hear it.
Yes.
There.
The question that I just answered was about the assorted boxes of teas, whether they're black tea, green tea, different types. And now the question is about potassium. Do you want to know what potassium can do for you? Yep. Potassium helps with the electric currents of your heart to keep those normal and regular. It can also help with, to help get rid of muscle cramping if you're having leg cramps, especially at night. Sometimes that's because we're not getting enough potassium. So I heard bananas, that's potatoes. Yes. Oranges, orange juice, tomatoes, those are all your biggest sources of potassium. So it can help you in a couple of different ways. If you have low potassium, which some people do, if you have any problems with your kidneys, you want to be careful not to have too much potassium, and that's something that your doctor can tell you what your potassium levels are if you need to have less, or if your potassium levels are low and you need to have more potassium-rich foods. What other questions can I answer? Yes?
Would a veal burger be in the same category as a beef burger?
The question is, would a veal burger be in the same category as a beef burger? Veal is, yeah, I don't want to go into the sad story of what veal is. It's very depressing. But that aside, it does have almost the same amount of fat as red meat burgers. So if you're looking for a leaner meat, a chicken or turkey, those types of ground meat would be leaner. Even if you're using red meat, you know when it says the percentage on it, like 97% lean, you want it at least 97 or higher. Something like 90% lean sounds pretty lean because there's only 10% fat, but 10% fat is still pretty high. So look for at least 97% lean. That's for your ground red meat, chicken, turkey, at least 97% lean. Okay? What other questions can I answer? It doesn't have to be about a topic that we talked about today. If there's another nutrition topic that you want to talk about, I can answer a question on that as well. Okay, good. Like I said, there is handouts here. Please feel free to take them. And we also have our outpatient nutrition program information if you're interested in talking to us about making an appointment. Our phone number is on there as well. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Somehow we managed to match. The dietitians at Lawrence have developed some other nutrition programs, and I asked Jen if they might come in January, see the winter schedule, because the dietitians there have developed their own special program about organic foods. And I'm sure all of us say, should I really buy the organic strawberries, or are the other ones okay? Should I get organic eggs or organic milk? So they're going to come and discuss that with us, because there evidently are 10 or 12 organic products we really should buy all the time. So stay tuned. Not like what? You have to come in January. Do you want to give them a hint on one?
I can give you a teaser. Sure. When you think about produce, fruits and vegetables, the softer the skin, the easier for the pesticides that farmers may be using to get inside, exactly, to penetrate it. So something like a strawberry or a peach, where the skin is very soft, it's going to be easier for the pesticides to penetrate it. Something like a banana, it's not worth it to buy organic because you're peeling it anyway. It's got a thick skin and the pesticides are not going to get in there. So that's just a little preview. Then we have a list of about 10 or 12 other foods in total that may be worth it to spend the extra money on the organic.
There was a program on TV that said organic is hardly worth buying.
Well, come in January and you'll find out for sure. Thank you again very much.
Thank you.